Hey there, you're looking kind of cute. Don't forget to subscribe and check out all my other socials. Enjoy.
He waited for his turn. The room felt very clinical. It smelled like lavender mixed with disinfectant. The bright, fluorescent lights made the plain walls look even more dull. There were some boring landscape paintings on the walls. A young man, about 28 years old, sat nervously in a plastic chair. He bounced his leg quickly, and his foot kept tapping the hard floor, making a loud, repeating sound. He wore old black Converse shoes, faded jeans, and a plain t-shirt. Someone called out, "Dr. Chen is ready for you." Walking down the hallway felt very slow. Every step made a loud echo. His black t-shirt was sticking to his sweaty back, even though the air conditioning was cold. His jeans were loose because he had not been eating much. Anxiety had made him lose his appetite. Dr. Chen's office looked different from typical psychiatrist spaces. No leather couch or imposing desk. Instead, two pale blue armchairs faced each other across a small glass table. Soft lighting replaced the harsh fluorescence. A small fountain bubbled in the corner. "Please sit." Dr. Chen gestured to one chair while settling into the other. She wore a burgundy blazer over a cream blouse, her dark hair pulled back in a neat bun. "How have you been since our last session?" "Not great." The words came out strained. "The Lexapro isn't working. Neither did the Zoloft or the Wellbutrin or whatever else we tried. I can't sleep, can't eat, can't focus at work. My boss gave me another warning yesterday about missing deadlines." "Tell me more about the physical symptoms." "Same as before. Heart racing all the time. Chest feels tight like someone's sitting on it. Hands won't stop shaking." He held them out as evidence. "I threw up twice this morning just thinking about coming here. Not because of you, just leaving the apartment makes me sick." Dr. Chen made notes on her tablet. "You've been dealing with this for 18 months now. We've tried 6 different medications with minimal improvement. So what's next? Shock therapy?" The joke fell flat. "I want to try something different." She set the tablet aside and leaned forward. "There's growing research about anxiety disorders that stem from deeper identity conflicts. Sometimes the body rebels against a fundamental disconnect between who we are and who we think we should be." "I don't understand." "Your anxiety started after college, correct? When you began working at the accounting firm?" "Yeah, but lots of people hate their jobs without having panic attacks every day." "True. But your case presents some unique patterns. The physical symptoms you describe, the chest tightness, the nausea, the dissociation you mentioned last month, these often indicate something beyond standard anxiety." "Like what?" Dr. Chen paused, choosing her words carefully. "I'd like to try a different medication approach, one that addresses potential hormonal imbalances that might be contributing to your symptoms." "Hormones?" His voice cracked. "You think this is about testosterone or something?" "In a way. I'm prescribing estradiol, a form of estrogen. Before you react, hear me out. Some individuals experience severe anxiety when their body chemistry doesn't align with their neurological needs. This treatment has shown remarkable results in specific cases. You want to give me female hormones?" The room spun slightly. "I want to give you relief from the constant panic that's destroying your quality of life. This is a medical treatment, nothing more. We'll start with a low dose and monitor your response carefully." His mouth opened and closed several times. "What about side effects?" "Some physical changes may occur, mild at first. Skin softening, possible breast tissue development, fat redistribution, but many patients report feeling calmer within weeks, more themselves." "This is insane." "Is it? You've been suffering for over a year. Traditional approaches haven't worked. Are you willing to continue living in constant fear, or would you like to try something that might actually help?" The prescription bottle felt heavy in his pocket as he left the office. White pills rattled inside orange plastic. The label read Estradiol 2M yarns in neat pharmacy print. He stopped at 3 different drugstores on the way home, too embarrassed to fill it. Finally, at a CVS across town where nobody knew him, he handed over the prescription with shaking hands. "This might make me drowsy, right?" he asked the pharmacist, desperate for normal small talk. "Shouldn't affect alertness. Make sure to take with food." The elderly woman smiled kindly. Your doctor should have explained the effects. Back in his studio apartment, he sat at the small kitchen table staring at the bottle. Gray walls surrounded him, bare except for a calendar marked with work deadlines he'd already missed. The place felt more like a cell than a home. No decorations, no personality, just functional furniture and overwhelming emptiness. He swallowed the first pill with orange juice. 2 weeks passed in a blur of routine. Wake up, take the small white pill, force down breakfast, attempt work from his laptop, fail to concentrate, order takeout, sleep fitfully. But something shifted around day 10. The constant knot in his stomach loosened slightly. His hand steadied enough to type without errors. "How are you feeling?" Dr. Chen asked at their follow-up appointment. "Better, actually. Still anxious, but different. Like the volume got turned down from 11 to maybe 7. "Good. Any physical changes?" "My skin feels weird. Softer, and I'm always cold now. Those are normal responses. Your body is adjusting to the new hormone levels. I'd like to increase your dose slightly." "Is that safe?" "Perfectly. We're still well within therapeutic ranges." Another prescription, another awkward pharmacy visit. The higher dose brought more noticeable changes. His chest grew tender, then began to swell slightly. Hip bones seemed to shift, creating subtle curves where none existed before. The anxiety continued its retreat, leaving space for something else, a strange sense of anticipation he couldn't name. "This is getting weird," he told Dr. Chen 6 weeks into treatment. He wore a baggy gray hoodie to hide his changing shape. "My chest is growing, and my face looks different. How do you feel about these changes?" "I don't know. Scared? But also..." He struggled for words. "The anxiety is so much better. I actually slept through the night 3 times this week." "That's excellent progress. The physical changes, do they bother you?" "They should, right? But when I look in the mirror, I don't feel that usual disgust. It's confusing." Dr. Chen leaned back in her chair. "What if I told you that reaction is significant? Many people would be disturbed by these changes. Your acceptance, even curiosity, suggests something important. What are you saying?" "I believe your anxiety stems from gender dysphoria. Your body and brain have been in conflict, creating the panic and distress you've experienced. The estrogen isn't just treating symptoms, it's addressing the root cause." The words hit like cold water. "You think I'm trans?" "I think you're discovering who you've always been. The medication is simply allowing your authentic self to emerge." "This is crazy. I've never wanted to be a woman." "Haven't you? Tell me, when was the last time you felt truly comfortable in your own skin?" The question hung in the air. He tried to remember a time before the anxiety, before the constant feeling of wrongness. Memory offered nothing but blank spaces and vague discomfort stretching back to adolescence. "I need to think." "Of course, but consider this. You've been on estrogen for 6 weeks. Most men would have stopped immediately when breast development began. You haven't. Why?" He left without answering, but the question followed him home. In his apartment, he stood before the bathroom mirror and slowly removed the hoodie. Small breasts had formed, maybe an A cup. His waist tucked inward while his hips flared slightly. The face staring back looked softer, younger somehow. Brown hair had grown past his ears, framing features that seemed less harsh than before. Something cracked inside his chest. Not anxiety this time, but a different kind of breaking. Tears came suddenly, violently, years of suppressed emotion flooding out. He slid down the bathroom wall and sobbed until exhaustion took over. The next morning brought an unusual urge. Instead of his standard uniform of jeans and dark shirts, he found himself at Target, wandering through the women's clothing section. Everything felt surreal, like watching someone else's hands reach for fabrics and colors he'd never considered. A pink sundress caught his eye. Simple, knee-length, with small white flowers embroidered along the hem. His hand brushed the material, soft cotton that whispered against his skin. Before logic could intervene, he grabbed it along with a pair of white sandals and practically ran to the self-checkout. At home, the dress hung on his closet door for 3 days before courage arrived. On a Thursday afternoon, with sunlight streaming through the window, he slipped it over his head. The fabric settled against his changing body like it belonged there. The sandals fit perfectly, white leather straps hugging his feet. The mirror reflected a stranger, or perhaps someone finally familiar. Brown hair tucked behind ears that seemed more delicate now. The pink dress complemented skin that had lost its masculine roughness. Without thinking, he grabbed his phone and called Dr. Chen's office. I need to see her. Today, if possible. 2 hours later, he sat in the familiar blue chair wearing the pink sundress. Dr. Chen's expression remained neutral, but something knowing flickered in her eyes. Tell me how you feel right now. Terrified, confused, but also a deep breath. Calm. Calmer than I've been in years. When I put this on, the anxiety just stopped, like someone finally turned off an alarm that had been blaring forever. That's not surprising. You're allowing yourself to exist authentically for the first time. So what happens now? That depends on you. Some people find balance through expression, wearing clothes that match their internal identity. Others pursue medical transition more fully. There's no wrong answer, only what feels right for you. The hormones, they're really changing me. Yes, if you continue, the changes will become more pronounced. Breast growth will increase, fat will continue redistributing, and eventually some changes become permanent. But you can stop anytime. What if I don't want to stop? The question surprised them both. Dr. Chen smiled gently. Then we continue. I can refer you to an endocrinologist who specializes in hormone therapy. You might also consider therapy specifically focused on gender identity. This is a journey, not a race. Walking home in the dress felt like stepping onto a stage. Every glance from strangers burned, but underneath the fear, something else bloomed. Defiance, maybe even pride. The white sandals clicked against concrete with each step, a rhythm that matched some internal music he'd never heard before. His phone buzzed. A text from his mother. Haven't heard from you in weeks. Are you okay? He stared at the screen, thumb hovering over the keyboard. How could he explain? That her son was walking through downtown in a pink sundress? That the anxiety medication was estrogen? That maybe, possibly, probably he wasn't her son at all? I'm okay. Better than I've been in a long time. Can we talk this weekend? Of course, sweetie. Love you. Love you too. The apartment felt different when he returned. Same gray walls, same sparse furniture, but the person entering had changed. He kept the dress on while making dinner, the hem swishing around his knees as he moved. When exhaustion finally hit, he carefully hung it in the closet next to his old clothes, a divide between past and present. Sleep came easier that night. No racing thoughts, no chest pain, no midnight panic. Just quiet breathing and dreams of pink flowers blooming in endless fields. The next months passed in waves of change. Hormone doses increased under medical supervision. Breasts grew to B cups, then C. Hips widened while shoulders seemed to narrow. The endocrinologist Dr. Chen recommended proved kind and thorough, adjusting medications to achieve optimal results. Your levels look good, Dr. Martinez said during a checkup. She wore teal scrubs that complemented her warm smile. How are you feeling overall? Like I'm finally waking up from a long nightmare. That's common. Many patients describe transition as coming home to themselves. Any concerns? My legal name. It feels wrong now. I've been thinking about changing it. Have you chosen something? Chloe. The name had appeared one morning, fully formed and somehow always true. Chloe Marie. Beautiful choice. I can provide documentation for the legal process if you're ready. The courthouse visit took place on a Tuesday. She wore a conservative blue dress with matching flats, brown hair styled in soft waves. The clerk barely glanced up while processing the paperwork. Sign here, here, and here. 3 signatures transformed Jace Morrison into Chloe Marie Morrison. The new driver's license arrived 2 weeks later, featuring a photo that finally matched the person holding it. Work presented its own challenges. The accounting firm prided itself on conservative values, but discrimination laws provided some protection. HR scheduled a meeting after she submitted her name change documentation. "We'll update all systems to reflect your legal name," the director said, shuffling papers nervously. "Do you have a preference for pronouns?" "She and her." "Of course. We'll send a brief email to your department. Is there anything else you need?" "Just patience while everyone adjusts." Some coworkers adapted quickly, others stumbled over pronouns for weeks. But the crushing anxiety that once made work impossible had vanished. She met deadlines, contributed in meetings, even laughed at water cooler conversations. Performance reviews improved dramatically. "Whatever you're doing, keep it up," her boss commented during a quarterly evaluation. "It's like you're a completely different person." "In a way, I am." The pink sundress became a weekend favorite, paired with those first white sandals that had marked the beginning of everything. But her wardrobe expanded, professional blazers in navy and charcoal, flowing skirts in burgundy and forest green, blouses in cream and soft lavender. Each piece felt like reclaiming territory in her own life. Standing before her bathroom mirror one evening, she marveled at the transformation. Same brown hair, now shoulder length and healthy. Same basic bone structure, but softened by hormones and happiness. The woman in the reflection smiled back. Not a stranger anymore, but herself, finally visible. Her phone rang. Dr. Chen's name appeared on the screen. "I wanted to check in. It's been several months since our last session." "I've been good, really good. The anxiety is basically gone." "I'm glad to hear that. Would you like to schedule a follow-up?" "Actually, yes. Not for anxiety, though. I think I'd like to talk about everything else, processing this journey." "Of course. How does next Thursday sound?" "Perfect." Thursday arrived with spring rain pattering against windows. She chose a yellow dress that brought warmth to the gray day, paired with comfortable white flats. The waiting room felt different now. No racing heart, no trembling hands, just calm anticipation. "Chloe Morrison?" The same nurse from that first terrifying visit smiled at her. Dr. Chen's office hadn't changed, but everything else had. She settled into the blue chair like greeting an old friend. "You look wonderful. How are you feeling?" "Free." The word came without thought. "For the first time in my life, I feel free. The anxiety that used to consume every moment is just gone. I wake up happy to face the day. Work doesn't terrify me. I can grocery shop without having a panic attack. It's miraculous. It's not a miracle. It's what happens when we stop fighting ourselves and start living authentically. The anxiety was your body's way of screaming that something was wrong. I spent so many years suffering when the answer was right there. You weren't ready to see it. Sometimes we need to exhaust all other options before accepting a truth that feels too big to hold. My family is still adjusting. Mom tries but slips up with pronouns. Dad won't talk about it at all. My sister sent me makeup for my birthday, though, so that's progress. Family often needs the most time. They're mourning someone who never really existed while getting to know who you actually are. It's a process. I'm patient. I have to be. This happiness, this peace, it's worth any awkwardness or loss. They talked for the full hour, covering fears and triumphs, practical concerns and philosophical questions. When time ran out, Dr. Chen walked her to the door. "I'm proud of you. The courage this took. Not everyone finds it. You saved my life." "No. You saved your own life by being willing to listen to what it needed." Outside, the rain had stopped. Puddles reflected sky and clouds, creating windows to another world. She walked carefully in her white flats, avoiding the deeper water, while enjoying the fresh-washed smell of earth and growth. Her apartment building stood ahead, but she took a detour through the park. Spring flowers bloomed in carefully tended beds, pink tulips, white daffodils, yellow roses. Colors that might have meant nothing before now sparked joy. She sat on a bench, smoothing her yellow dress, and watched life continue around her. A young couple walked past holding hands. An elderly man fed breadcrumbs to eager pigeons. Children played on distant swings while parents chatted nearby. Normal scenes of existence that she could finally join without the crushing weight of wrongness. Her phone buzzed. A text from a coworker about drinks after work Friday. 6 months ago, The invitation would have triggered hours of panic. Now she typed back, "Sounds fun, count me in," without hesitation. The sun broke through clouds, warming her face. She closed her eyes and breathed deeply. No tightness, no fear, just air-filling lungs that finally belonged to her. The journey from that first terrifying psychiatrist appointment to this moment of peace felt simultaneously eternal and instant. Change came with costs. Some friendships faded when faced with her truth. Extended family members made their discomfort clear through silence. The world occasionally showed its cruel edges through stares or whispered comments. But against those losses stood immeasurable gains: authenticity, peace, the simple joy of existing in skin that finally fit. She stood from the bench, brushing off her dress. The walk home beckoned, but she felt no rush. Each step in those white flats marked territory in a life finally worth living. Brown hair caught the breeze, dancing around shoulders that carried no more weight than they could bear. Back in her apartment, she made tea and settled onto the couch with a book she'd been meaning to start. No television for background noise, no phone scrolling to avoid thoughts. Just words on a page and chamomile steam rising from a favorite mug. The anxiety that once made simple pleasures impossible had truly vanished. As evening approached, she prepared dinner with music playing softly. Cooking had become enjoyable again, without constant nausea. She set a proper place setting, another small ritual of self-care that anxiety had stolen. The meal tasted like victory. Her journal lay open on the bedside table. She'd started writing shortly after beginning hormones, documenting changes both physical and emotional. Tonight's entry flowed easily. 10 months since that first estrogen pill. 10 months since Dr. Chen saw what I couldn't. My body has transformed, but more importantly, my mind has quieted. The static that filled every moment has been replaced by something I barely recognize: contentment. Tomorrow marks another endocrinologist appointment. We'll likely discuss surgery options. The thought doesn't scare me like it might have before. Each step feels natural now, like following a path that was always there, just hidden by undergrowth. I wore the pink sundress again today. It still fits perfectly, a reminder of that first brave moment. The white sandals need replacing soon. I've worn them enough that the soles show my journey. But I'll keep them anyway. Some things deserve preservation. Chloe. I write my name and smile every time. Such a simple thing that means everything. She closed the journal and prepared for bed. The nighttime routine had expanded. Skincare steps she'd never considered before. Hair wrapped in silk to prevent tangles. Small feminine rituals that brought unexpected comfort. Sleep approached gently. No medication needed anymore, no desperate bargaining with her brain for a few hours of rest. Just natural tiredness after a full day of living. The pink sundress hung in the closet beside professional clothes and casual wear, a rainbow of possibility that started with one brave purchase. The moon cast silver light through windows. She pulled covers up to her chin, body relaxed in pajamas that matched the person wearing them. Tomorrow would bring its own challenges and victories. But tonight, in the quiet darkness, Chloe Marie Morrison simply existed. Whole, authentic, and finally at peace. Morning arrived with birdsong. She stretched luxuriously, no immediate panic about facing another day. The anxiety that once made mornings torture had become a distant memory. She chose a lavender blouse and black skirt for work, pairing them with comfortable heels that clicked confidently against her apartment floor. Breakfast happened without rush or nausea. Toast with jam, coffee with cream, a handful of vitamins including her estrogen. The morning ritual felt sacred now, caring for a body that finally belonged to her. The commute passed pleasantly. She discovered podcasts during recovery, filling travel time with comedy and true crime instead of spiraling thoughts. Fellow passengers paid her no special attention. Just another woman heading to work on a Wednesday morning. Her desk had transformed too. Where once bare surfaces reflected inner emptiness, now small touches brought warmth. A succulent in a painted pot, photos from recent gatherings where she finally felt present, a ceramic mug declaring "World's Okayest Accountant" that made her smile. "Morning, Chloe." Her cubicle neighbor waved over the partition. Love that blouse. The color really suits you. Thanks, Marcus. How was your evening? Normal conversation. Casual interaction. Things that used to require exhausting performance now flowed naturally. The spreadsheets waiting on her monitor held no terror, just numbers requiring organization. She dove in with focus impossible during the anxious years. Lunchtime brought an unexpected encounter. In the break room, heating up leftovers, she noticed a new employee sitting alone. The young woman wore a crisp navy suit, but fidgeted constantly, straightening papers, adjusting her collar, tapping her foot in an irregular rhythm Chloe recognized too well. Mind if I sit? She gestured to an empty chair. Oh, sure, of course. The woman's voice pitched high with nerves. First week? Third day, I'm Emma, from the Dallas branch. Chloe, accounting. The first days are always overwhelming, but it gets easier. Does it? Because right now I feel like I might throw up every time my phone rings. The words struck a familiar chord. Chloe studied Emma's face, the tight jaw, darting eyes, hands that couldn't stay still, a mirror of her own past self. Can I share something? When I started here, I had such severe anxiety I couldn't eat in the break room. Too many people, too much noise. I'd hide in my car during lunch, sometimes crying from the stress. Emma's eyes widened. But you seem so... together. Now, yes, but it took work and the right help. Have you talked to anyone about the anxiety? My doctor prescribed Xanax, but it makes me foggy. I can't afford to be foggy in a new position. Maybe try a psychiatrist who specializes in anxiety disorders. Sometimes the solution isn't what we expect. They chatted until lunch ended. Emma's shoulders had dropped slightly, her breathing deeper. Chloe scribbled Dr. Chen's information on a sticky note. She changed my life. Worth considering if your current treatment isn't working. Thank you. Really, it's nice to know someone understands. Walking back to her desk, Chloe reflected on the interaction. She'd become someone who could offer comfort instead of needing constant reassurance. The transformation went deeper than clothes or hormones. She'd grown into a person capable of connection. The afternoon passed productively. Emails answered, reports filed. A brief presentation delivered without the voice cracks that once plagued her. When 5 o'clock arrived, she packed up without the usual exhausted relief. Work had become just work, neither torture nor escape, but simply part of life. Her commute home included a stop at the grocery store, another former impossibility made routine. She wandered aisles selecting ingredients for dinner, adding flowers to her cart on impulse. The cashier smiled at the bright gerbera daisies. Special occasion? Just Wednesday. Best reason for flowers. At home, she arranged the daisies in a vase while pasta water boiled. The apartment had evolved with her. Throw pillows added color to the once bare couch. Artwork decorated previously empty walls. Plants thrived on windowsills. A space that reflected life rather than mere existence. Her phone rang during dinner. Mom's weekly check-in had become less strained over months of practice. Hi, sweetie. How was your day? Good. Productive. I helped a new employee who reminded me of myself before. Before? When the anxiety controlled everything. I'm glad you're doing better. I worry. Did I miss signs when you were younger? Could I have helped sooner? Mom, you couldn't have known what I didn't understand myself. We found the answer when we were meant to. I love you. You know that, right? No matter what. I know. I love you too. They talked about safer topics. Her sister's pregnancy, Dad's retirement plans, the family reunion scheduled for summer, normal family conversation that no longer required careful navigation around her identity, progress measured in small acceptances, evenings settled with a gentleness she'd grown to appreciate. She changed into comfortable clothes, soft cotton pajama pants, and an oversized t-shirt that had become a favorite. No more sleeping in whatever she'd worn all day, too exhausted for self-care. Now bedtime routines brought their own pleasure. She settled on the couch with chamomile tea and her journal. Writing had become less about documenting crisis and more about celebrating small victories. Tonight's entry reflected on the encounter with Emma, the ease of existing in her body, the simple joy of buying flowers just because. A text interrupted her writing, an unknown number with a simple message. This is Emma from work. Thank you again for lunch. I called Dr. Chen's office. First appointment next week. Your kindness meant everything today. Chloe smiled, typing back, So glad you reached out for help. Remember, healing isn't linear, but it's possible. Here, if you need to talk. The exchange warmed her more than the tea. She'd become someone capable of helping others navigate darkness she knew intimately. The anxiety that once isolated her had transformed into empathy and connection. Bedtime approached with its familiar rituals. Face washed, teeth brushed, hair braided loosely to prevent tangles. She looked in the mirror one last time, brown hair framing a face finally at peace, eyes clear instead of constantly darting, shoulders relaxed rather than hunched in perpetual defense. The woman in the reflection had fought hard for this calm, every pill swallowed despite fear, every therapy session attended through panic, every small step toward authenticity when staying hidden felt safer. Chloe honored that journey with gratitude rather than regret for time lost. She climbed into bed, pulling soft sheets up to her chin. No racing thoughts demanding attention. No mental lists of tomorrow's potential disasters. Just quiet breathing in a body that finally felt like home. The pink sundress in her closet had started something beautiful, a life where anxiety no longer ruled and authenticity brought its own rewards. Sleep came easily, carrying dreams of flowers blooming in endless fields under clear skies. Somewhere in those dreams, she danced freely, brown hair flowing, white sandals barely touching grass as she spun in celebration of everything she'd become. The months continued their gentle progression. Hormone levels stabilized at optimal points. Physical changes plateaued into a form that felt completely natural. The medical aspects of transition became routine maintenance rather than dramatic transformation. Life settled into rhythms impossible during the anxious years. Chloe found herself mentoring others at work, not just about anxiety, but about finding authentic paths through difficulty. Emma flourished under Dr. Chen's care, discovering her own journey toward peace. They became friends, sharing lunches and after-work conversations about healing and growth. "You saved my life," Emma said one afternoon over coffee. "No, you saved your own by being brave enough to seek help. I just pointed toward a door. Still, seeing you thriving gave me hope when I had none." These connections multiplied. The local support group she'd joined initially for information became a source of genuine friendship. Women who understood the particular joy of finding themselves after years of searching. Their monthly dinners filled with laughter rather than tears, celebrating victories both small and large. Her relationship with family continued evolving. Dad started using correct pronouns after months of silence. Mom sent cards addressed to Chloe without hesitation. Her sister included her in girls' nights, treating her like she'd always been part of that circle. Love persisted through adjustment, growing stronger for being tested. The pink sundress still hung in her closet, joined by dozens of other pieces that brought joy. But it remained special, a symbol of that first brave step into authenticity. On anniversaries of starting hormones, she wore it with those original white sandals, honoring the journey from panic to peace. Work flourished without anxiety's interference. Promotions came based on merit rather than desperate overcompensation. She discovered leadership skills previously buried under fear, mentoring new employees and heading projects with calm confidence. The accounting firm benefited from her whole presence rather than the fractured performance of before. Dating entered the picture eventually. Coffee meetings and dinner conversations with people who saw her completely. Some connections fizzled naturally, others grew into meaningful relationships. The ability to be vulnerable with another person, impossible during the anxious years, became a gift rather than a threat. Life expanded in ways panic had made impossible. Travel to places she'd only dreamed of visiting. Hobbies pursued for joy rather than distraction. Friendships deepened through honest connection. Each experience added color to a world that had been gray for so long. Standing in her apartment one evening, now filled with plants and art and evidence of a life fully lived, she marveled at the distance traveled. The terrified person who'd first sat in Dr. Chen's office seemed like a character from someone else's story. but honoring that scared beginning made the peaceful present even sweeter. Her phone buzzed with dinner plans, movie invitations, work questions that didn't trigger panic. She responded to each with presence rather than anxiety, fully engaged in a life worth living. The brown-haired woman in flowy dresses and comfortable heels bore little resemblance to who she'd been, but the essential self, finally free to exist, had always been there, waiting. The journey from crippling anxiety to authentic peace hadn't been linear. Setbacks occurred, challenges arose, some days felt harder than others, but the overall trajectory moved steadily toward light. Each small victory built on the last until life without constant panic became normal rather than miraculous. She prepared for bed with the same gentle routine that had replaced anxious collapse. Tomorrow would bring its own adventures. A presentation at work, dinner with friends, maybe a walk through the park if weather permitted. Plans made without dread, anticipation instead of anxiety, coloring future thoughts. The pink sundress swayed gently in the closet as she closed the door. Tomorrow she might wear the professional navy blazer or the flowing green skirt or something entirely new. Choice itself had become freedom, options expanding rather than overwhelming. Each morning brought possibility rather than panic.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to check out my other socials if you want more content, early access, behind the scenes, and more. All links down below.